Nick Cotsonika of NHL.com joining us from the land down under right now. Nick, happy Thursday, I guess, to you. It's Wednesday here in the States. How has Australia treated you so far?
Fantastic. I mean, this is a beautiful city. For North Americans who've never been down here, I'd compare it to, a Toronto, a Vancouver, a Chicago. It's modern, it's multicultural. There's no language barrier. They just drive on the other side of the street.
All right, we got look, there's NHL games. That's what the whole point of this trip is. We got the Kings Coyotes pair of games coming up Friday and Saturday in Australia, Laver Arena. What should we expect? What type of atmosphere is going to be down there in Australia?
Well, I'm eager to see it. And, when this was first announced, I think a lot of us were like, Australia? But what's been really fun for me is to find out that there is a modest but strong hockey community here. The hockey history in this country goes back to the early 1900s. They've been part of the IIHF since 1938. They have a semi-pro league here. There's people here who love hockey. Some of them are expats from Canada and the U.S., and some of them are native Australians who've fallen in love with the game. So I'm really eager to see what the reception will be at Laver Arena.
Nick, for purposes of getting the both clubs acclimated to their new environment, of course, they'll by the time the first drop of the puck, game one, they'll have been here the better part of a week. How are the players spending their time in a very unique and different environment?
Well, on the ice, it's work, right? This is the beginning of training camp. They're taking it seriously. They're skating hard. I know the Kings, for example, worked on the forecheck and zone entries and back checking. That's work time. When they're away from the ice, there's a lot of fun to be had, right? Guys have gone to the zoo. Guys have gone golfing. Drew Doughty got to play with an Australian tennis player on an Australian Open court. Pierre-Luc Dubois got to meet an Aussie rules football star. And both teams are going to go to an Australian rules football match on Friday. It's basically the semifinals, the equivalent of the NHL conference finals. The stadium seats 100,000 people. It's going to be nuts. So I think there's a lot of once-in-a-lifetime experiences here to give them energy. And I think by the time they get to the games on Saturday and Sunday, they'll be pretty well acclimated and ready to go.
Speaking of once in a lifetime, it's the first time the NHL has ever been to the Southern Hemisphere. I know you talked about the fans there, kind of passionate hockey people, smaller, but definitely passionate. What's the reaction been like from the locals getting the NHL involved down there?
Well, one of the coolest things is to talk to the locals, right? So I'm at the rink the other day, and one of the arena workers is pushing the net, and you can tell he's looking at the players, and he's trying to sneak photos. Turns out this guy played on the Australian national team with Nathan Walker, the first Australian to play in the NHL. They won a world championship at the lower levels on the same ice where the Coyotes and Kings are practicing this week. He's played in the semi-pro league here, and he was just giddy. He said he's starstruck. It's surreal. I mean, he'd seen NHL games on TV. He'd seen, highlights. There's nothing like seeing it live, and there's nothing like seeing these guys in your home country. So I think, on one hand, the NHL wants to reach people like that. The hardcore hockey people are here. And you're also really hoping that people will discover the game, right? Maybe those be some people who come, who've never seen it before and fall in love with it. I think there's lots of North Americans who can relate to that.
Nick, both games will be played at Laver Arena right there in Melbourne. What's capacity for hockey at Laver, and what kind of attendance are you expecting? What's the expectation?
Well, I believe it's roughly 12,000. Don't quote me on that, but it's really cool. I mean, Laver Arena is the home of the Australian Open. Basically what they've done, the building is built for tennis. So a tennis court's obviously smaller than a hockey rink. So they had to retract the stands at one end, barely fit the rink in there. But what they've done is they've taken the same equipment they used to build an outdoor rink for an outdoor game, shipped it halfway across the world through the Panama Canal, and they're building a hockey rink right on top of the tennis court at Laver Arena. It's really phenomenal what they've done, and it really comes with the expertise of having done all these events in stadiums and even on a golf course in Lake Tahoe during COVID, adapting to new places and new challenges. So it's really cool to see a hockey rink sort of sprout up at this arena. So from one end, it looks a lot like an NHL arena to me.
Amazing. I don't know about you. I've never been to Australia. I don't think
Nor
you have either. Nick, you're there now, but I just envision you walk outside, they're just blasting men at work all day, and everybody's eating Vegemite sandwiches. Is that an accurate depiction?
Well, the funny, we were on the bus from the airport, right? And the bus driver goes, "Look, to your left, there's a kangaroo." And we're like, "Wow, there was a kangaroo." He's like, "That's the last one you're going to see," right? Like, there's lots of stereotypes about Australia. And then you come to a city like this and you really feel at home. I mean, it's a really modern place. It's a beautiful city. There's lots of affluence here. There's great food. The people are friendly. I mean, if it weren't for the distance, I think more people would visit here and realize what a great place this is.
How long was the flight for you?
Oh, only 15 and a half hours, only 8,000 miles. No big deal.
Yeah. Well, local cuisine, anything like locally that we don't
have
have
you
here
bit
that
into a Vegemite sandwich? Ugh. Have you bit into the sandwich?
I had one bite. That was enough for me. I'm all about trying new things. But we had a great Asian fusion meal the other night. I tried barramundi, which is an Australian fish. But really, too, you can get KFC, McDonald's, Subway. There's a lot of Western brands here too. So, but coffee's a big thing here. Apparently, there's more coffee shops per capita than anywhere else in the world.
Wow.
They take pride in it.
If they got a Starbucks, I'm coming. If they got a Starbucks, I'll be there.
They have that too, and I got to get a souvenir mug for my wife. That's item number one on my agenda here.
Yeah, take care of the people at home. Nick, we appreciate the insight. Enjoy your Thursday, and we look forward to your coverage of the upcoming Global Series games this weekend.